So, I am here with Battle Arena champ and proud mother Molly Lindsay. How are we doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. How are you finding the current climate with everything going on?
It's just an odd world, really, isn't it? It's not the usual. But I think, like everyone, you kind of have days being fed up, but it's just about staying positive. And I see a lot of the people, and I follow like fighters and stuff, are still training and doing what they can. And so, yeah, like everyone, we're just getting on with it, I suppose.
Well, this is something I really wanted to get you on for because throughout all like the time I followed you on social media and seeing you fight and everything else, you've always had quite strong like not just positive sort of mental attitude, but very honest as well. Like very because you're very transparent, I find, with how like, you come across with things, and I really appreciate that honesty with stuff. Because in obviously the modern age of social media, you get a lot of people putting a front on, and you
Yeah,
got more
definitely.
substance with how you come across. How has it always been something you've been quite good with?
I think so, yeah. And I think with being a girl in such a male-dominated sport, the transparency and honesty might encourage other girls to get involved, I suppose. Um, and yeah, I think sort of the platform of social media and just fighting in general should be used for something positive. So yeah, I would like to always keep it real with everyone and be quite transparent and honest with good things and bad things. And I just think social media especially could be like a bit of a toxic environment with, a highlight reel of all the good things of people's lives, especially fighters as well. So yeah, it's kind of like a passion of mine, I suppose, being honest. Probably sometimes too honest, but there we go.
Yeah, but still, it's you. That's the thing that boils down. I think that's why people sort of warm to you in the same way they do because of that genuine sort of honesty. So talk us through your MMA journey then. So how did you get into it in the first place?
I love this question because it's such a random sport. Um, so I used to compete on horses. That was sort of my first love of a sport. And then I think when I was about 14 or something, 15, I sort of had a break from that. Exams were coming up at school and things like that. So I didn't do as much of that. Got a bit chubby. Thought I should probably do some more sport. So I'd done like a boxercise class at school, I think, and quite enjoyed that. I'm naturally really competitive anyway. So yeah, and then I like tried an actual kickboxing class, and then I tried, I think, like some Wing Chun and like different things like that. I kind of dabbled in different classes until I found MMA, which kind of covered it all and was ultra competitive. And uh, I don't know, I guess like ultra challenging, and I just like a challenge, so I just took to it really well. So I moved to the gym I'm at now, said I wanted to try competing and have a fight and see how I could do with it, and then I've just stuck with it, I suppose. Fell down the rabbit hole of the MMA world, and then went to sort of training full time and working part time, and now I want a career in it, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's just such a random sport to
I mean, it's
get
only a
into.
natural transition from horse riding to cage fighting. I mean, there's
Totally.
just full stop. That's it. No
Yeah.
further details. So you touched on something earlier then about being a mainly male-dominated sport. How did you find that initial transition into that? Was it quite you quite apprehensive? Was it something you were nervous or excited? How was your
um,
initial impression?
I think walking into the gym, like I'm at Now Five Elements, I walked in and I was like, oh my God, like it just smells of man sweat. There's all men on the mat, like they're all scary, and they're all learning to fight. So it's definitely, yeah, like an anxious feeling to walk into a gym like that. But that's the sort of environment I thrive in, I think, just because it's more of a challenge. And I don't know, if I was at school and the boys said I couldn't play football with them, I'd always argue it until they would let me, and that sort of thing. So for me, I quite enjoyed the challenge of getting involved with the boys, and now I suppose I'm just involved with the lads as anyone else. But yeah, it can be daunting to begin with. But just I don't know. I think most girls that train MMA though are used to being maybe one of the only girls, if not the only girl in the gym training it. So you just get on with it.
I mean, that's fair to say because you said like wanting to get involved with, like, say, the boys playing football and standing your ground a bit, saying, "Oh, why not?" And that kind of, I think, knowing that sort of substance, like you know where your feet are, you sort of, I deserve to be just as much as you guys do, and that speaks a lot. I mean, talk us through like the sparring side of things. Like, obviously, that must be quite a I don't know, a bit of a tricky issue, like initially starting off, finding the right sort of pressures and all this kind of stuff with sparring with guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll be honest and say I probably, when I first started sparring, wasn't so good with the amount of pressure and stuff. I probably went as hard as I possibly could to try and prove a point. Um, from a female perspective, I think most of the time the boys either try and hit too hard or be too aggressive because they can't dare be beaten by a female, or they don't really want to hit you at all. But we've got a group of lads that I train with, and we seem to have found a really good balance between us all and know how to push each other without making each other feel unsafe or wanting to hurt each other. But I was probably a bit of a nightmare to begin with. In fact, I was known for growling when I first started training out of aggression. So I was like over aggressive, and now
In what sense? You just drop that in, you growl.
like
So
out of frustration, like in sparring, if we're rolling or wrestling, and yeah, like I don't know, I don't know. I did think I was hyper aggressive, and now I prefer like some light sparring and technical sparring, and we spar like I think we've sparred like 12 rounds before with like 30 seconds break in between, like because we spar so well together and go technical and try and avoid injury and things like that. But I'm usually one of the smaller people. There's a couple of boys lighter than me. So I just think I realised that most of the time they're going to be stronger than me, and so you have to get good at technique to kind of even the playing field, I guess.
I'm glad you specified in the growling thing. I wasn't sure if it was like outside of training, just on your own time, just growling at people, but that's good that you clarified
It's not mine.
It's not like a pastime. But that's something you highlight there, which is really important, is finding that kind of balance to train smart with it all. And I think that's, with sparring anyway, it's how hard do you really hit, like percentage-wise, it's all different for everyone. And I'll tell you, from the people I've spoken to at Five Elements, they seem like a really sort of welcoming bunch of people. Like in the like battle arena, like in the warm-up areas, always having a laugh and stuff. It's seems like quite a nice atmosphere to be around. It's good that you found that kind of balance with everything.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think all gyms are different, and all fighters suit different gyms, different coaches. We're not really like a fighter's gym. We're more of a family gym, and so like there's a handful of us that compete, but most of us are there for like fun and fitness, and you've got like a 50-year-old training, and then you've got like 3 women that are friends that come down for boxing and stuff like that. So it's always a nice atmosphere between us. And yeah, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We like to have a laugh, and for me, that's better. Like if I had a coach shouting at me to, I don't know, be more aggressive or be tough, or shouting at me if I'm not doing burpees properly, I'd probably cry in the corner. I need a bit of gentle encouragement. So the gym feels very safe, and it feels like a family, which for me is what I need. So some gyms I think are a bit aggressive with their fighters, and their sparring is 90% power of each other all the time. And I mean, personally, I'd like a long career, so I don't really want to be injured.
And that is a huge point as well, because a lot of people who start off in MMA, or whatever gym they're at, they think, okay, this is MMA as a whole thing. This is if it's going to work for me or not. But they don't appreciate there's more than just this one place in this one town. There's thousands of gyms with different personality types, different training methods. And if that one style doesn't suit you, there's more options out there.
So, definitely. Like sometimes at the fights we see people warming up, and I'm watching them like, oh my God, like if that was my coach, I'd hate them, or he'd make me cry, or but that might be what that fighter needs. That fighter might need switching on before a fight, whereas I probably need calming down and relaxing because I suffer with nerves. So just because it's not what you think is right doesn't mean it's wrong.
Well, that brings me on to my next sort of real point. It's like your first sort of fighting competition. So you've come in there, you've enjoyed training in this gym, you've sort of found your feet, and then so how long into your training do you then say I want to have a fight?
So I turned up at the gym for the first time and said, so I want to fight. So then the coach just kept saying, no, you're not training long enough, you're not ready, blah, blah, blah. So I trained for about a year and then had my first fight. Yeah, about a year.
And you say about suffering from nerves. What was that experience like, the fight camp? And since you got your book, so you got what you asked for, you got your fight. So you've got this fight camp and like the day of. What's your nerves throughout that process?
I was less nervous for my first fight than any of my others. I got worse as time goes on. Ignorance was bliss for that first fight. Because I was just buzzing.
So talk to me about your weight cut and stuff. Did you cut a lot for your first fight?
I don't think I cut a lot for the fight itself. I lost a lot of weight since I first started training. I think I was about 72 kilos when I first started training, and then naturally I went down to sort of about 66, and then I fought at 61. But that was no real knowledge of nutrition. I just kind of ate a bit less the closer to the fight I got. But that was less stressful of a weight cut. Like, I didn't even realise a weight cut exists. Like, it's a thing, you know. I just thought you just had to make weight, and everyone does it in their own way. Like, most people walk around at their weight, or maybe I was cutting more or less. I didn't really know. So, yeah, I just kind of ate a bit less and made weight. But then I kind of would walk around at about 66, 65 kilos instead of going back up to 72. I think that was just an initial bit of weight loss being a newbie.
Now, there's something I'm going to mention. This is how when I think this is the first time I saw you fight, which may not be the fondest memory. Was
it my arm?
It was your arm, because I remember at the end of the first round seeing, I was thinking, that doesn't bend that way, but you carried on thinking, okay, I guess it's all right, because, I don't know, sometimes girls have more mobility in their elbows for some reason. Thinking, okay, I guess she's all right. And then the second round, it wasn't as all right. And talk us through what was going through your head during those times, because watching it from the outside looked really scary and kind of traumatised me a bit, so cheers for that.
Oh, funny. So I think I knew I was in a bad place with the arm. I knew she had an armbar already deep, but she turned belly down. In my head, she could only get so much leverage due to her lower back mobility with a belly down armbar, you know?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, if this is as rough as it's going to get, I can last this out. And then I heard the 10-second clacker go. And I was like, well, it's already a mess, so I might as well wait another 10 seconds. So the bell went back to the corner, said to my head coach, I was like, so my arm's a mess. And he said, no, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's definitely not okay. And he was like, okay. So I put my arms out straight on his shoulders, and he leant against me, and it kind of clicked back in. And he was like, well, it's all right now. It's up to you. You might as well go back out and do another round. So I was like, okay, fair enough. But then I had I can't even begin to describe the strength it took to hold my hand up. Like, I had no strength in the elbow. So I was trying to have my guard up, obviously. But it just felt like, my elbow felt like Harry Potter's arm when he broke it. If you know the scene I'm referencing.
Oh,
it just felt like,
yeah, we has the thing that his bones turn to like liquid. Yeah, he just sort of.
That's how my elbow felt. And so
it's a very specific reference. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Welcome. So when she took me down again, and I can't remember what it was she got me in. Can you remember, Wes? Americana.
Yeah, key lock with the legs.
Yeah, key lock with the legs, and I had no strength in the arm at all, so I couldn't put it back. I couldn't do anything. But then I don't know why I didn't tap. It just didn't come into my head. Like, I remember Paul, the ref, looking me dead in the eye, as in, like, you need help, right? And I was looking at him like, please help me. But I didn't tap. Stupid, because my arm might have been in a bit of a better place had I tapped earlier. But there you go. So that's what was going on in my head.
So talk us through the process after that then. So obviously you've had your first fight, you got your first win, and now second one doesn't go the same way, and now your arm's pretty knackered. What's your thought process after that?
Fun. After that, I don't know, it's soul destroying loss, I think, and that took so much out of me, that loss. I think with the way I lost as well. My arm was quite a mess. It took them quite a long time to put it back into place in hospital. And then when we come back to the venue, because I went to hospital in an ambulance, not on blue lights or anything, just the paramedics took me. And then they took me back to the venue to meet back up with my family and stuff. And Paul, the ref, was still there because he wanted to make sure I was okay. And he apologised because he felt so bad because he didn't call the fight sooner. I was like, it's okay, it was my fault, I didn't tap. Bless him.
Paul Nichols is the nicest ref, I think, in MMA. He saved me from after getting knocked out, which was nice of him. So cheers
I
Paul.
literally think he's my best friend. He probably barely remembers my name, but I get a picture of him every time I see him. I just love him. But yeah, so I felt really down about that loss. In my head, I kept thinking, like, if I've lost my second fight, I'm never going to be one of the best in the world. But now I've realised, to be the best in the world, like, you need to lose a good few. That's part of it. Like, there's 50% chance there's only two of you in there. Like, you're going to win or you're going to lose. There's no, like, third place. Do you know what I mean? So a loss isn't always such a bad thing. But where I couldn't train properly for quite a long time with rehabbing the elbow, I did get quite down with that. But, yeah, I just done what I could. Like, I was back in the gym, I think, 2 or 3 weeks later, and I was just using the other arm and using legs and stuff. And then it was about a year, longer than a year before I fought again. because it took so much physio and stuff to rehab the arm. I couldn't straighten my arm out properly for about 6 months, so that's fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a barrel of laughter, really, but it was
Yeah.
more. A lot of what I wanted to really get out of this was really understanding, because that sort of transition from that sort of high of winning initially to then losing and then the recovery, and also coming with the injury, because some people when they lose they want to get back in straight away and then just get that almost resolved. But when you have that injury to push you back even further and affecting your training as well, I'm just curious about how that process was like, and also with your mentality with it all. Did you have anyone at the time giving you extra support? Was it a personal battle you went through? What?
It was more of a personal battle, I think. I think where I couldn't train properly and I wasn't sparring or anything for quite a long time, I started looking into I suppose sports psychology, like athlete mindset, and found different personal growth books and kind of delved into that avenue of things. And that's where I kind of sort of started to realise that a loss isn't the end of the world. And, my second amateur fight, losing that against someone that was really high up in judo in Poland, it's not a bad thing and it doesn't determine the rest of my career. So, yeah, although it was frustrating, I think it was quite a good time frame for me to learn and kind of go for myself. I think that's quite narcissistic to think you're never going to lose a fight, but I was convinced I would never going to lose a fight, and if I did, that was the end of it.
Now, regardless of the rest of your journey from there onwards, obviously being a champ, talk to us about that first belt. How did that feel?
So technically, I'm going to correct you here because I'm not a champ. I'm a champ. But here's my dilemma, right? So when I defended my belt, they announced and new. It should have been and still.
Oh, controversy.
So because they mucked up, I decided I was going to run with it and call myself a 2-time bantamweight Ballywinner champ. So technically one champ. But yeah, so my next fight after the elbow, my third fight was the fight for that belt. So that was a good 1 year and 2 months after. I think initially when that fight was decided, I was like, oh my God, my third fight and I'm going for a belt. It's my first fight back since my loss and things like that. It was a bit overwhelming, but I don't know. I think amateur belts are handed out quite easily, if I'm honest. I don't think they're a massive deal. For a third fight and you're getting a title fight. There's no real ranking system or anything, is there? So I kind of just went with it. And then the person I fought for that belt, it wasn't very evenly matched, if I'm honest. The fight lasted 47 seconds long, which was disappointing because I trained really hard for that.
I think I remember this one. Was this the one? Was it Dunstable? Was it Dunstable? Was it Luton, I think? It was Houghton Regis, wasn't it? I think.
Oh, you are good. You know my fights better than I do. I think it was.
I was there, yeah. Because oh God, this was a proper mismatch, wasn't it? This was because you see look on her face, she didn't look happy to be there at all.
No, I was matched with someone. In fact, this fight has got a whole other story for you. So I was matched with someone from Norway, wasn't it? Ellen. It was an Ellen, someone. I was matched with her. She's from Norway, and then she pulled out due to a knee injury, I think, 2 weeks before. Then I was matched with someone else, and they pulled out a week before. Now, in the mix of this, the Wednesday before the fight, I was supposed to start uni. So I moved up there because they'd pulled out and James Price was like, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get anyone. So I moved all my stuff up to Loughborough to go to uni, accepted the fight was off. And then I think, or was that the Thursday? I even think that was the Thursday. And then I was having lunch with Wes and my mum after moving into uni and whatever. We walked into town. I was munching on a burger. And then I got a call from James saying we've rematched you. I was like, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So then I packed up what I needed. We drove all the way back home. I didn't finish my burger. And then I fought on the Saturday. That Megan, I can't remember her surname, Megan Newman, maybe, something like that. She stepped in for the fight. Yeah, won the belt on the Saturday, back at uni starting on the Monday.
But what about the burger? What about the burger? Who's the real winner in this?
Got it. But I did stock up. So once we went up to uni, we went shopping. Moved me in, went shopping. I bought pizza and stuff for shoved that in the freezer before we left home. So I got back up on the Monday and I was like, oh, I've got Pizza Express Doughballs in the freezer. I'm going to have them. So I definitely binged 8 the week after, don't worry.
Okay, that's fine. Not completely lost then.
Maybe.
Okay, this is quite an important question. So, post-fight food. This is, how your fans are going to see it. This is how the world is going to see it. What is your post-fight food? Don't spare any details on this.
Everything.
Quantity.
I don't discriminate against food, if I'm honest. I love chocolate. I have such a sweet tooth. So I normally, like the fight week, I normally go shopping and I like go and buy the food that I want to eat. It's like my last serious mental test. I'm hungry and I'm tired and I've got the last bit of weight to cut. So I go and browse all the chocolate in the sweet aisle. Love me a Kinder Bueno. Love some brownies. Love donuts. Krispy Kremes normally we get.
Ooh.
I can't tell you because it's just everything. Bounty, they're good. Don't judge me on that.
My mum likes Bounties for some reason. Don't know why. I mean, who knows?
It's just covered in chocolate, so I'll eat it.
I'll leave you with that one anyway. On the note of food craving and stuff, have you had any when you were pregnant? Did you have any weird? What was your weird pregnancy craving, like food wise and stuff? Because loads of people I know who've been pregnant have obscure cravings. Like I think women I work with had like beef hula hoop craving for ages. I'm not sure, and all these like very specific cravings.
Yeah, some people are really weird with them. Like I had a friend that craved to eat sponges. That's weird.
Excuse me.
I feel like you've definitely got a deficiency in your diet, but I was a little bit late to the craving party. At the beginning of pregnancy, I quite liked Monster Munch, but I think that's because I'd gone from trying to keep quite level with nutrition to falling pregnant, so I could kind of get away with eating what I wanted. So I ate quite a lot of Monster Munch to begin with.
What flavour?
And then the last month or two, chocolate oat milk, just that made my life. And watermelon was just the best thing in the world.
What a combination! Is this all in the same meal?
I mean, yeah, like snacking on watermelon and sipping some chocolate oat milk just made my life during them weeks.
Shout out Dean Kirk Nutrition.
Yeah, shout out.
Whenever I get like chocolate spread and stuff, like whilst we're in quarantine, I'm like, I'm sorry, Dean, I've let you down.
He kept asking for like food updates when I was pregnant, and he was like, "How much are you eating now?" And I'm quite a lot.
So how much time have you got?
Literally.
Now, talk us through like the sort of pregnancy sort of thing, because obviously with like your career and everything else, obviously this is going to have quite a big effect regards to timeline and also training commitments and all this kind of stuff. How, when you sort of made the call to, have little baby Odin, what was the plan with regards to MMA?
So we were chatting about having kids for ages and ages. Like we've been together a good few years. I've known Wes for ages now. We knew we wanted a family. I knew I wanted a fighting career. So as a female, that's quite a hard position to be in. Typically, you'd wait until after your sporting career, but with fighting, we all kind of know it's a bit of a late sport. Like I think the average age of people in the UFC is like 30. So what we look at me retiring at 35, really, at the earliest, maybe with a good run. I don't know. Then I'm 35, Wes is 45. We're going to try and have our first child. With the weight cuts and women's hormones, a lot of women end up, quite low fertility after a fight career and a weight cut throughout their career. I was already sort of suffering with some hormone imbalances from the weight cuts and overtraining. So we kind of said, we'll try for a baby in 2020. And then I fell pregnant in the July 2019, so it was a bit earlier than we planned, but I was kind of shocked I fell pregnant anyway because of all the hormone issues from the weight cuts. So I was supposed to fight on Cage Warriors Academy Southeast in October. I had to pull out of that. But yeah, we kind of decided that I didn't want fighting to take away the ability to have a family. As much as I really want a fight career, that's something I'm not going to sacrifice. Anyone in the sport knows that you give so much to the sport, and that's something I just wasn't willing to give. And then of course you've got people like Jessica Ennis, Michelle Wilson, they're like elite level athletes that have had children. So my mindset was if someone else can do it, I definitely can. So yeah, there's no real rush to get back to fighting, but the timing of having a baby at 22 was strategically planned in terms of wanting a career in sport. So yeah, that's my story.
I mean, this is a huge reason why I wanted to get you on, because these are sort of underappreciated parts of like women's MMA, especially obviously the initial coming into the gym when there's this whole atmosphere and always testosterone everywhere, or sort of, he says, sweaty boy smell everywhere and always. And then it's the career, and then obviously it's the balance between that and also your own like life you want to have outside of that. And it's so important that you've had this sort of these conversations, these honest conversations, and the reality of this stuff as well, because obviously I don't know the intricacies of how the hormones affect, like, you know, the weight cuts and everything else. So to then, you know, take that into account and then, you know, fortunately be able to have a little baby Odin.
Yeah, we just got really lucky, really. Like, I was talking to Dean for ages because we were working with my nutrition to kind of get my hormones balanced a bit better. And, you know, I spoke to him about when best to start a family and what he thought about the weight cuts and a long career. And yeah, I mean, that's huge. So when me and Wes were chatting about it, it really was, so either have a baby now or, you know, after the fight career, maybe we'd look at freezing some eggs or things like that, to try and improve the chances. I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's crazy that's the price you pay for a fighting career. I mean, I might not have. I might have retired at 35 and could have 10 kids. You don't know. But I didn't want to kind of risk that chance. But I don't know how many other female fighters are thinking this way. I'm quite lucky in terms of I'm 22, but I'm not really at a typical 22-year-old life stage. You know, I work for myself. Wes has got a stable job. He's one of my coaches. You know, he's like my main coach. So that helps in terms of being at the gym all the time as well. And we live together. And so we're quite privileged in that way, that we're in a good position to have started a family. I kind of feel for the younger girls who are my age and aren't very settled, and I don't know, maybe they'll be in a bit of a sticky situation later, or, you know, a different dilemma later where they want kids and they're sort of mid-pro career. We've spoken about when the best time is for me to go pro, and so we've had the time to plan to have a baby before that. And for me, I really wanted our child to grow up and see all this happening. I think having really good role models of parents is important. And, you know, there's one thing telling your child you can achieve anything you want in the world, but then watching your parents do it, I think that's going to set in stone a different level of belief in themselves. So, yeah, it's the plan that worked for us. I can't speak for other female fighters, but it's definitely a big dilemma that's not really being talked about in the MMA world as a whole.
It's just it's really inspirational as well, hearing all this. But the one thing I was really curious to sort of speak upon was you and Wes, regards of your training and your sort of fight camps and stuff, because obviously, like, the stress of it all, the strategy side, like, do you have like a cut-off point where you stop talking about like fighting stuff, or is it just something that's 24/7? What's your...
We do try to find some time to do other things and talk about other things. Fighting is something we constantly come back to in terms of, I don't know, on Sundays we could go for hill sprints, you know, get you fit for your next fight. So there's like a date is going in and doing hill sprints. Or, you know, we get bored of watching a series and put fights on instead, or we chat about the opponents I'm going to have in the future, or it's quite a common thing when we're at home that we talk about it. But sometimes, it's probably more often me, I say, you know, that's enough fight talk for now, I need a day away from it. It's a weird dynamic to have a relationship. I don't think it would work for most people. You know, I spend pretty much all day with him because he's coaching at the gym and I'm training, and then we come home together. But yeah, it works for us. I think we have like a baseline of very high respect for each other. And I'm really good at switching off once I get to the gym. So there's sort of partner Wes at home, and then it's Coach Wes at the gym, and who's my coach first. So yeah, it works, but it's definitely hard. And I think all fighters need a break from fight talk and watching fights and things like that. I think it's very important to have other interests around fighting if you're going to have a career in it. I think that improves the longevity of your ability to stay in the fight world.
Well, definitely. And it's good that you guys can be honest with each other about these sort of points where certain things are getting like burning out, or you, and also the fact you specified there how you can draw that line and divide that. If he tells you to do something in the gym, you give it that respect. You don't give him, just, you know, it's whatever. You have that respect there, and you can separate these kind of things. And it's also really underappreciated, these kind of relationships, whilst you're like seriously in MMA, because you know the training routines, you know the times, it's all over the place. It's training is the priority, then life comes second to that. And if you're with someone who can appreciate that, it's just so much more sustainable.
Yeah, to be honest, like as much as our relationship has its difficulties in the dynamic of coach and fighter, I think I couldn't imagine being with someone that isn't in the fight world. Like, I don't know, someone that works 9 to 5 in an office and plays golf on the weekends. Like, I don't understand how that would ever work. That must have its own struggles because you never see them. I'm lucky that I get a lot of time with Wes, even if it's with, you know, the coach version of Wes. If he wasn't there, like, I don't know, how do people do normal relationships? I don't get it.
Exactly, they're not normal. We're not normal people, I don't think. One thing I wanted to ask about was the blog. How did that all start?
I think out of trying to find something else outside of fighting, but then I ended up just writing about fighting. Yeah, I've always kind of liked, like we said, like being honest, and I enjoyed English at school and sort of journalism stuff, so I thought, why not? It's quite an interesting lifestyle to live, and like quite a lot of my friends outside of the gym are interested in how I got into it or what the lifestyle's like, and some people just can't imagine fighting, and so I kind of thought if I can open it up and break it down a little bit, you know, the good times, the bad times, the lifestyle of it, maybe more women will get into it, or it might encourage more people, or yeah, it's just kind of a passion of mine. I mean, half the time I feel like no one cares what you think, and I've just waffled about something that's irrelevant. But you know, if one person reads it and thinks, "Oh my God, I've really struggled with that too. I'm so glad I feel normal," you know, and it's not just me. Or reads it and thinks, "I'm going to give that a go," and it's kind of worth it. I think I make myself quite vulnerable by being quite honest and talking about the topics I talk about. But I think that's a good thing. I think other people can relate to it, and yeah, just encourage other people and help them feel good, I guess.
It's certainly admirable, and I think a common misconception in most people is when you become vulnerable, it means you're weak. But no, that people naturally see when someone like sees that kind of honesty and that kind of, this is my experience, I've had this struggle, this is an issue I've been going through, but now I'm doing this, what X, Y, and Z. They won't give you sympathy as such. They'll give you respect. They'll give you that kind of, I mean, it's case by case, obviously, but as a whole, most people are quite understanding, quite supportive for these kind of things.
Yeah, and I think to be vulnerable takes strength. It's not a weak thing. It takes more strength to be vulnerable than vulnerable and honest than it does to be fake and put a front on. So, yeah, I really connect with people who are quite real themselves. I struggle with people that aren't honest with themselves. So, yeah, I think there should be more honest people in the world, I guess.
Definitely. Just a quick one before we go. I've got a couple of FAQs for you, just a few Instagram things. So, advice to a girl looking to get into MMA?
Just go and do it. Just go and do the first class. Worry about that first. Do the first class, the first hour training. Maybe take a friend if you're feeling nervous or anxious. Maybe email the coaches if you're feeling nervous or anxious. But go and do it because you don't know if you don't try.
That is very good advice. I mean, that's all the apprehension. It's all the kind of, you know, what ifs, what at, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, if you find a gym that's, you know, safe and they're gonna look after you and they're caring, you just go and get the first hour of training done. And if you hate it, you never have to go back. But you know, if you don't go, you're always going to sit wondering whether you'd like it or whether you could have been good at it.
Exactly. Any chance of you doing a podcast or a YouTube channel?
Interesting. I thought about a YouTube channel before, just because I love myself a little bit and don't mind filming my life and talking about it.
Little vlogs.
And a podcast again after Chat for England. Maybe. I mean, I'm not good at editing though, so I can film the footage, but the editing side, I'm not good. So maybe I'll just be guest on people's podcasts for a while.
That's it as regular.
And then I'll start my own.
Shout out David Lester for doing all my editing, you absolute hero. I don't know how these things work, I can just talk and he's very supportive, thank you very much. And also, shout out from Scott McKinnon from Monsters MMA. He says that you are an absolutely phenomenal guest and a great interviewee.
Oh, that's cute. He made me sign his Cage Warriors Southeast little booklet thing. I thought, because I've got your first autograph, so I'm going to sell it on eBay when you're famous, and that made my life.
Also, shout out to Scott for being incredibly supportive with my podcast, because when I initially started this, I was a bit like, is it stepping on his toes, a bit of else, but he's been nothing but supportive from the word go. He's helped me get in contact with people and all the rest of it, so shout out Scott.
That's
on
really
Instagram.
nice. That's really nice, because I think people worry about, I don't know, being overshadowed, but no, that's nice that he's helped you. I love him. He's great. He's a great dude.
Shout out Scott, best guy ever. Now, where could people find you, Molly?
They can find me on Instagram. I suppose you're going to tag me when you put this up anyway.
I will be tagging and descriptions and stuff, but just people listening who are lazy and can't be asked to do that.
Yeah, my Instagram is molly_Lindsay. I've got a athlete Facebook page as well. And that's about it, really. You can find me at the gym other than that.
This is it. Well, thank you very much for your time coming on. I wish you guys all the best. Stay lovely and safe. And this episode is sponsored by Mauler MMA. Use code FCMMA20 at checkout for 20% off on all MMA apparel and gloves. Thank you very much.